What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Rhonda on the Rocks podcast. So happy to have you back here with me for another week and another episode to do what I do, talk a little shit, do what I do. So today's episode is me by myself. I had such a great experience this weekend that I just felt inspired. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start doing more of these podcast episodes by myself because I don't always need a guest. I got it. I can do this. Talk a little bit more about my weekend in a minute. What I have on the rocks today is water. Good old H2O. And the reason why is because I spent my weekend drinking. So I have no hydration in my body right now. And so water is necessary. I was going to have a little wine and I was like, no, I need to save my liver. So that's what I'm doing. Plus, my birthday is this weekend, so I'm going to be turning up.
My birthday tomorrow.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the show. The first segment is called The Weekend Rundown. So this weekend, I had an amazing opportunity to be a guest on one of my favorite podcasts, probably my favorite podcast outside of my own. Definitely in my top 3, the Boy Please Whatever podcast. So I flew down to Memphis. Me and my good friend, my sister, flew down to Memphis to be a guest on his show. And it was an amazing experience. Like seeing myself on YouTube was just amazing. Like my family and friends showed up in the comments and everybody was just there and it was fantastic. I have family in Memphis, so I got to spend a lot of time, well, not a lot of time, but I did get to see them, spend some time with them. My cousin Rhonda, aka Peach Beauties, did my makeup for the podcast. And so I just got a chance to like really just be loved on by my family. And it just felt so incredibly good. Outside of the podcast, my sister, like I said, came down with me and we went to brunch and then we went out Sunday night, got some hookah, got some oysters, got some drinks. Prior to that, we went to the liquor store, bought a bottle. So we drank the entire weekend. Then we were drinking on the podcast. After the podcast, we ran to my cousin's house in downtown Memphis and drank some more. And so I had a funky good time all weekend, and I have absolutely no regrets. It was such a great time and such a great opportunity. So with that being said, please follow Boy Please Whatever podcast here on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify. You can listen to like clips on TikTok. So follow him on TikTok at Boy Please Whatever. You're going to be very entertained. I was on season 5, episode 5. So if you just remember that, you can hear that episode, and I'll probably drop the link somewhere in these show notes so that you can click it and see what my experience was all about. But it was a phenomenal time. So that was my weekend. All right. So I don't really have like a specific title for this episode just yet, but there have been some things that have come across my desk that have just left me a little curious, like made me wonder. And I have an opinion about some of these things. So the first thing is, let's talk about buying holiday gifts for your partner or your significant other. I'm a generous person, and so I like a generous man. I want a man who celebrates the holidays. Like, I understand people's religious beliefs and all of that good stuff, but I like a man who celebrates birthdays, celebrates Christmas, all of that good stuff. Like, yes, please. And so I ran across this post that talked about like, not doing too much for your partner and keeping it simple, because if it's not reciprocated, then you're going to feel shitty and blah, blah, blah. Personally, I don't know that I subscribe to that way of thinking, right? Like at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to do what I feel comfortable with doing for my partner, right? Like if I know I like sneakers are expensive. And if I know that he likes sneakers, then I'm going to cop him a pair if that's what I choose to do. And I do understand that that's a choice, but I hate to feel like I'm taking a risk if I'm buying gifts or spoiling my significant other. Now, in the past, have I gotten a lot of gifts from guys that I was dating? No, because they was broke niggas.
Broke nigga alert.
They were broke niggas. I can admit, I didn't have the best choice in men. And so I didn't get a lot of gifts. But for a woman like me, it doesn't take a lot. Like, buy me a Snicker bar when you're at the grocery store. If you run in the gas station, give me an Arizona tea. Like, just to know that I'm being thought of and you're considering me is going to go a long way with me. And I think most women are like that. And I believe that most men don't believe that. And so therefore they feel like if I can't buy her a Birkin bag, if I can't buy her a new car and have it sitting in the driveway with a red ribbon on it, then I'm not getting nothing. Well, I think that's foolish. I think I think you have to really get to know your partner and know what their likes and dislikes are. Hell, you might be able to pay a bill around here for a gift. I like that. If you know that I need some new sheets on my bed and you run by Target and give me a nice set of sheets, yes, those kind of things add up. We're grown now. We're adults now. So put some brake pads on my truck for Christmas. You ain't got to give me a purse because what am I going to do with a purse if I don't have no car? I need my car. So buy me some brake pads. Get some of these fuses changed in this truck. Yeah, all of that stuff goes a long way. So yeah, I don't subscribe to the whole like, well, if he not doing it for me or if she not doing it for me, then I'm not doing it for them. I have a generous heart. I'm an open person. So I feel like I am going to do whatever it is that I want to do for my partner. And that's just going to be that. Now, I'm not going to let you make no fool out of me. And I'm certainly not going to let you use me. I've experienced that in the past as well, where I'm doing all of this and not even getting any type of gratitude at all. You know what I mean? Like, I'm making sure that your kids got Christmas gifts. I don't have any children. You're not buying power nothing. So, like, I'm doing all of this for you and you're not doing anything for me. I feel like that is like using a person. But if it's reciprocal, it doesn't have to be the same dollar amount, is what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be the same dollar amount for it to matter and for it to count. But as long as you're being thoughtful, being considerate, thinking of me and being creative, that's going to go a long way. It's going to go a long way. And there's people who are saying like, well, dick is not a gift and pussy is not a gift. Who? Why it ain't? It can't be the only gift, but it's the gift that keeps on giving. And, you know, sometimes it's an edible gift and sometimes it's, you know, something that you feel like it's still a gift. It's 100% a gift. I don't subscribe to that thought. Like, bring it here. Yeah, bring that gift here. So the next topic that I want to talk about is this idea that men want a woman who is in her soft girl era. They want soft women. They want you to, you know, be feminine and all of these things. Fine. I'm happy to do that. I want to do that. I'm happy to be that. But you got to make it easy for me. I can't be soft if you steady making life hard. That's not how it works. So I think sometimes that a lot of men don't consider the part that they play in making their woman feel like she's safe to be soft. You have to feel safe to be soft. You have to feel safe to be feminine, especially if you've been single a long time and depending on how you've been raised. If you've been raised to like take care of yourself and sustain yourself and do everything for yourself, it's very, very, very hard to just be soft. And I feel like sometimes men make it seem so easy and it's not. You coming home raising hell every day, or you got me anxious because, you know, I don't know what's coming next when it comes to you. Hell no, I'm not going to be soft. How? I can't even depend on you. I tell you to go to the grocery store and get mild cheddar cheese. You bring sharp cheddar cheese. Now I got to go to the grocery store myself. I tell you to get whole milk. You get skim milk. Now I got to go back to the store, right? I tell you to pick the kids up at 3:00. You don't get there till 3:30. School calling me, talking about calling DCFS because it's neglect. So if you're making things hard for me, how can I ever be soft? You have to show me and give me a reason to be soft. You have to make me feel safe to do that. And so I think this whole idea of women living in their soft era and women being soft. It sounds good. I think we all aspire to that. It sounds phenomenal. But is it realistic? Is it realistic? And I don't know. Sometimes I just don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the comments. All right, so the next thing that we are going to do, I am going to pull up a clip from a message that someone left on my SpeakPipe a while ago, and we're going to talk about it. All right, so the next segment of the show, we're going to listen to a message that was left on my SpeakPipe. So if you have questions, you're looking for advice, you just want to know my thoughts on something, leave me a message on the SpeakPipe. I will play it on the show and I will talk about it. And sometimes if I have a guest, the guest and I will talk about it. We'll see what happens. But let's listen to this one.
Hey, Rhonda on the Rocks. I got a question for you. I was at a bar and the bartender asked me if I had to pick one, which would I pick between compatibility or chemistry? OMG, I was stuck. What do you think?
Compatibility versus chemistry. First of all, thank you to Hot Toddy for leaving that message on SpeakPipe. And it definitely gave me something to think about. I think sometimes people use compatibility and chemistry interchangeably. They're like, oh, it's the same thing. Like, if you're compatible with someone, then obviously you have chemistry. If you have chemistry with someone, then obviously you're compatible. I don't think that is true. Would I rather have chemistry or compatibility? I think I would rather have chemistry. And I say that because chemistry is not something that you can fake. It is organic. It happens. If it's supposed to be there, it will be there. It already exists. So compatibility can be something that we can grow, right? Like we can become more compatible over time. But I don't believe that we can have more chemistry over time. Like, can it increase? Sure. Once you get to know a person more, sure. But I feel like there is some chemistry that just happens off the bat. And so I think personally, I would rather have chemistry with a person than compatibility. Because I feel like compatibility is something that we can get down the line and chemistry is something more organic. I'm the type of person, I go off of people's spirit, right? Like I have a very discerning spirit. I go off of people's energy, how people make me feel, like the vibe. And I know that we use that word, it's so cliche. But I kind of go off the vibes and like, how am I feeling about this? So for instance, talked about the podcast that I was on Monday, Boy Please Whatever with D Smith. D and I have text. We've talked over the phone. We've interacted on social media. We've never met in person until Monday. And our chemistry was off the charts. It was very natural. It was like we were almost finishing each other's sentences multiple times during that episode. Who's to say that we're compatible, right? But we definitely 100% have chemistry. And I feel like chemistry can take you places that compatibility cannot. I can work with somebody that I have chemistry with when it comes to like being creative and things like that. Compatibility, it comes and goes. And that's just the way that I feel about it. I would love to know your thoughts. Leave it in the comments. All right. The last thing that I wanted to briefly talk about is being comfortable with how your partner shows up for you. So I am seeing someone right now, and he is different than any guy that I have ever dated in terms of how he talks to me, how he cares for me, and how he shows up for me. I am used to a man being like, if you need me to, I will, versus I want to, right? the men that I've dated in the past, when I've needed something, it's like, okay, I got you because you need it, or you want me to be there, or this is something that you desire. But I've never dated a man that felt like, I want to show up for you. I want to take this load off of you. I want to make you feel comfortable. I want to be there for you. And I think that that is something that most women want that maybe we don't talk about enough. But how do you become comfortable with how your partner shows up for you? Do you say something? Do you have a conversation with them like, hey, this is not working for me, right? Like, I need more from you. What do you say? How do you navigate that? I think one of the ways is communicating. And I think the other way is accountability. I think we always think of accountability as chastising, or like holding the bar, or like, reprimanding someone. When in actuality, accountability is saying, hey, this is what I need from you, and this didn't happen. Can we do this next time? Can we make sure that this happens next time? So, when it comes to communicating how you need your partner to show up for you, you have to be okay with them also holding you accountable for showing up for them. We don't think of relationships as partnerships. We are such a selfish society where we just think about me, me, me. What do I need? What I got going on? When in actuality, it's another person here. It's another person that's involved in this relationship who also has feelings too. Full transparency, that's where I struggled in relationships in the past. Because I was so used to having to do everything on my own and just kind of being by myself, I didn't consider how it made them feel when I was like, long as you're doing for me, I'm good. I'll figure it out for you, but as long as you're doing for me, we good. And that was wrong. That was wrong. And I've grown and learned a lot from that situation and that relationship since then. I think too, we also have to be able to voice and say where we went wrong in relationships. I hear so many men and so many women, they can read you the whole list of where their partner went wrong. Where they wasn't cooking, and they, wasn't giving me enough sex, and they didn't have a relationship with my kids, and they didn't like my mama, and my mama didn't like them, and they were too loud, and they were too short, and they couldn't dress, and all of these things. They cheated, and, I felt like they were cheating, and just on and on and on. We can tell you all of the things that our partners did wrong and the reason why it was their fault that the relationship went to shit. When we actually need to be taking some accountability on what we did. Like, you played a part in the relationship going from sugar to shit. You wasn't just the sugar and they were the shit. No, you actually played a role in that as well. And it takes us as mature individuals to be accountable for that. We have to stand up and say, hey, here is where I fucked up. And if you're not comfortable saying that, you need to question why. Why am I not comfortable taking accountability for my actions? Because chances are, if you're not taking accountability for your actions in your relationship, then you aren't taking accountability for your actions in any other area of your life. You ain't taking accountability at work. People hate working with you because you don't take accountability. I can't even say the word. Because you don't take accountability, people hate working with you. They around the water cooler talking about your motherfucking ass because you lack accountability. So if you can't take accountability for what went wrong in your relationship, then you need to do a little self-evaluation. I need to do a little self-evaluation. I still struggle with that sometimes because my ex was horrible. I feel like he did way more wrong than I did. But I did play a part in some of the things that led to the demise of our relationship. So we have to learn to look inward and to self-reflect. We want these perfect people. We want to build a nigga. We want to build a bitch, right? We want these people that we can put together with our own way of thinking, our own ideologies, our own mannerisms, our own, just everything that we think will make this person a perfect partner. And we show up like shit. We show up awfully, and we're like, oh, but I want my person to be like this. Is that fair? Is that fair to say, I want my partner to be like this, to do this, and to have all of these things, and you don't have nothing? You're not doing any of that. I want a partner that communicates well, and you communicate poorly. I want a partner that wants to get down with the get down a lot, and you can't get it up because you're not taking care of yourself. Your health is poor. Your health is poor. So that means you can't even get it up. Well, where we do that at? So if you want all of these things, then you need to make sure that you can meet me halfway. Ain't nothing worse than a lousy lay. Nothing in the world is worse than a lousy lay. Nobody wants a lazy sex partner. So if you want me to be doing all these tricks and be standing on my head and twisting it around and you folding me up like a pretzel, you got to be able to make some shit shake too. You got to be able to get into some compromising positions if you want all of that from me. Surely. If I can put my legs behind my head, then you're going to be able to pick me up. You want me to be flexible? What you going to do? What you going to do? I like creativeness too. So you got to be able to catch up and to meet me where I'm at. That is for sure. So we have to stop having all of these expectations of other people that we're not willing to have for ourselves. And I think that starts with accepting people for who they are. People come into your life, relationships and otherwise. People come into your life and there's already something out the gate that you don't like about that person. Something about them and how they go through life doesn't match with you. But instead of saying, you know what, maybe they'll be a good friend, or maybe I need to keep letting this person just go on with their life. Instead, because we scared of being lonely, or the sex is good, or they got money, or, they have status, maybe they're TikTok famous or something like that. Instead of saying, you know what, actually this person isn't for me, we bring them in and try to change them. You get with somebody who say they don't want kids, they don't want kids. They don't like your kids. They don't want to bother with your kids. And now you mad because they don't want to come over. They don't want to go to little Roseanne's violin concert. He told you he don't like kids. So he's not going. But you feel like because Roseanne is such a sweet little girl that surely he wouldn't not want to be bothered. But no, he told you that off the rip. I don't like kids. So we bring these people into our lives and we try to change them. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to pass on this. And believing that God or the universe, whatever you believe, will bring you what you're supposed to have. It's coming. I found myself being in relation with not just romantic relationships in general, that I had no business being in. No business being in, no business being friends with them, no business trying to engage with them, because a lot of the stuff that they did and said, it didn't really gel with me. It didn't really gel with me. But I was so afraid to be mean. I don't want to be rude. I don't want people to think that I'm this way or that way. So what? So what? Be who you are. Be who you are. When you show up as your authentic self, it works for everybody who it's meant to work for. But when you faking the funk, then you're miserable. You can't even sleep at night. Because now you got to go to Justine's birthday party. You don't even like Justine. You don't even fuck with her. She ain't nobody you want to be bothered with. You can't stand her or her baby daddy or her kids. But because that's somebody else's friend and y'all work together, you scared to tell people no. No, it's all right. It's okay to tell people no, I'm not interested. But yet, we continue to do it. And it only causes more misery for us. If we were actually honest, if we actually established boundaries, and I know that's like a buzzword, right? Boundaries, 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 but it's true. If we establish boundaries and really stand on business about what we want and what we believe and how we want to operate in this life, we will have way more peace. Way more peace. Trying to force a person to like your kids, trying to force a person to like your dogs. I personally, this is going to sound crazy, I don't want to date a man who has pets because I have one and he's most important. And I don't want to get to know somebody else's dog. You can call me crazy, but that's my boundary. That's my boundary, especially not with cats. Baby, ain't no pussy around here but mine. No pussy cats around here but mine. I can't stand a cat, which is why I like men. Period. But I don't date men who have pets because I don't want to be around nobody else's dog. Power is the only one. And I feel very strongly about that. And if I met a man who don't like animals, he can't come nowhere around me because I got a dog. He ain't going nowhere. I don't care how good the dick is. Well, I go by your house. You can't come over here. Well, it'll never be nothing more than that because until Power go home to be with him, he gonna be right here in his house. But I said all that to say we have to be more honest and establish those boundaries and then stand on them. Don't be afraid to stand on your boundaries. Don't be afraid to say, this is not okay with me. No matter how crazy people may say that sounds. I don't desire to date men with children. I'm almost 40. Most of the men I date are almost 40, if not 40, if not 50, depending on the nigga. I don't want to date a man with kids. I desire to have children of my own, and I want those to be his only children. You can call it selfish. You can call it whatever you wanted to call it. But that's how I feel. And I stand on that. Now, have I dated men with kids? Sure. But I knew it wasn't going past the restaurant or the bedroom, one of the two. I knew it wasn't going past that because that is not what I actually wanted. So, moral of the story, moral of today's episode, stand on business about them boundaries. Don't be afraid to say, this is who I am, this is what I desire, and that's it, that's all. Communicate, be accountable, and hold others accountable. Okay? All right. You know where you can find me on Instagram at Rhonda on the Rocks, podcast on TikTok at Rhonda on the Rocks. Check out some other episodes from season 1 and other episodes from this season. Let me know what you think. Like, follow, subscribe. Please leave a review. Leave me a message on the speak pipe. I will play it on the episode. I'll talk about it. The good ones I'll talk about with my guests. Do all of those things. Holla at y'all later. Have a good one. Bye.